If you just watched Jalen Milroe's highlight reel, you might be wondering why this guy isn't in contention to go one overall. This might be the most boom-bust quarterback prospect in this draft, with a 16 to 11 touchdown to interception ratio in 2024, but 20 rushing touchdowns on the ground and over 700 yards. This is someone who is an incredible athlete, but incredibly inconsistent as a passer. If you like this content, please consider liking and subscribing. But let's take a little bit of a deep dive into one of the weirdest quarterback prospects in the draft. Jalen Milroe is the highest upside quarterback in the draft, and I don't think that's particularly controversial to say. His strengths are all about physical tools. He has elite athleticism and an absolute cannon of an arm. And the athleticism shows itself up in the running game, where he is the most dangerous home run threat at the quarterback position that we have seen since Lamar Jackson. And that includes someone like Anthony Richardson, although he is a very different type of runner. He has rare straight line speed at the quarterback position, and he is strong as well. He is so hard to bring down. He just has that incredible combination of quickness, speed, and strength that makes him, in the quarterback power game especially, such a threat. And if you can use this skill accordingly, this in fantasy football should be the 101. This is going to be a true difference maker in fantasy football if he sees the field. The problem is whether or not he can, and we'll come on to that a little bit later. But as well as those physical gifts showing themselves on the ground, we see them through the air as well. He has an absolute cannon of an arm that can reach all three levels of the field if he can just hit balls accurately. The other thing is I noticed a really quick release, and I think he has the ability to snap off passes with incredible velocity that just allows him to be able to throw out of pressure and just get the ball off incredibly quickly with great arm strength, which is really impressive to see. I also think that you see flashes from him of processing ability. You see flashes of him being able to understand soft spots in zone. You see flashes of him throwing with anticipation and throwing to where a receiver is going to be. It's just not consistent enough. But the strengths of Jalen Milroe are as good as any other quarterback, including Cam Ward, who I really like. The problem is that the weaknesses are so much worse. The one thing that I would say to describe Milroe's weaknesses is inconsistency. And this is what I hinted at just now when I talk about there's flashes of processing, there's flashes of anticipation. The problem is he can never put it together consistently. His accuracy in the short and intermediate game is incredibly worrying. It is just so inconsistent, and coupled with the fact that he tends to rocket passes into his receivers, when you're working in the quick game, it means that he limits the ability for his receivers to create yards after the catch. And this is just incredibly worrying. This should be the main thing that you can do as a quarterback, just taking what's there. And he's just not really able to. And it actually limits the offense if that quick game is just being limited by the fact that he can't put the ball in the right spot. If he is just rocketing a pass into a defender's chest, or sometimes well over their head, or well out in front of them. In the NFL, that's going to get you picked off a huge amount of the time. I also think because of this athleticism, he has a tendency to bail from a clean pocket way too quickly. Now, don't get me wrong. This works a fair amount of the time because he is just that next level athlete that means that he can create yardage on his own. But an offensive coordinator is going to get incredibly frustrated with someone that cannot recognize pressure, cannot recognize when a pocket is clean. And even if they do stand tall and throw in it, they're probably going to miss the receiver open in front of them. I think his ball placement issues create contested catches where there shouldn't really be any. I think he just lacks an understanding of where to put a football out in space in front of a receiver for them to come onto. And I think he has a tendency to just create a contested catch by putting it in a space where the corner can get to it as well. The other thing about him is that I think he struggles the moment he gets off his first read. This isn't someone who can go through progressions on a play. Or he's shown flashes of it, as he's shown with a lot of these things, but can't consistently read a defense, go through his progressions, and go 1, 2, 3, he's open, here we go. The summary of this is that there are flashes with Milroe, but these weaknesses are going to make it so difficult to scheme an offense around him. If he goes to an intelligent head coach who can do that, this guy could be an absolute diamond in the rough. If he can't, I think he could be out of the league within a few years. Play style comparison was actually really hard for me here. I considered Justin Fields, Lamar Jackson's obviously worth a shout for any rushing quarterback, not Anthony Richardson because it's not the same sort of sheer power and raw athleticism. The ultimate way that I've gone is somewhere between Malik Willis and Jalen Hurts. This is obviously relatively shorter quarterbacks who are a bit squat, but incredibly quick and great in the rushing game. But if you remember back to early Jalen Hurts, he did struggle reading a defense and throwing over the middle of the field, and Malik Willis still struggles with that. The main summary here is this is a quarterback that you can scheme around to make them look great and continue to win games in the way that Matt LaFleur did with Malik Willis when Jordan Love was hurt. The upside is incredible as well. This is someone who can score 20 rushing touchdowns in a season. Where he fits in there just depends where he ends up, how long he can sit, and how willing a coach is to sit and develop him to become a starter at the next level. I think he probably goes on day 2. I actually wouldn't be surprised if he's maybe the 4th quarterback off the board after Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Jackson Dart, who I think is getting some round 1 hype. I think a team like the Rams, potentially a few others who are looking for a developmental option to go forward into the future, will be quite interested in taking Milroe to let him sit. Potentially the Steelers actually could be an interesting one. Let him sit for a year or two, develop, coach up, and see what they have, knowing that this could be the highest upside quarterback in the draft if he can learn. Then when it comes to rookie draft value, I am really struggling taking Milroe because I just know it's high upside, low floor. In one quarterback leagues, I'd actually be more willing to take Milroe than Shedeur Sanders. In one quarterback leagues, you need a difference maker at the quarterback position. Shedeur Sanders is not going to be that. Jalen Milroe could be. In Superflex, it's maybe the beginning of the second. It's going to be a really difficult pick with the running backs that are available around there, but if this guy hits, this is absolute fantasy gold dust. Comment below where you'd like to see Milroe go to have the best chance to develop and become a plus starter in the league. If you've enjoyed this, please consider liking and subscribing, and check out all of the other rookie profiles available on my channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.